So, Cori,
Camera 5?
good evening, and welcome to Talking Simulator. I am Cameron,
I'm Cori.
and today we're playing Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors Desert Bus.
It is a mini game in Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors.
Should we talk about what a mini game is, as opposed to the implied macro game, which I assume we're all playing all the time, forever?
I lost. How would you define a mini game? Is it a game where there is many inputs?
I would define it as a game that you play only along a single axis, maybe?
So the thing I like about this game is that it was created and, let's say, thought of in response to the political, landscape of the time.
Yeah, the moral panic around video games, and specifically around so-called hyper-realistic video games that were turning people into murder enthusiasts.
It's all the guns.
So, yeah, keeping politics out of video games, Penn and Teller.
So then Penn and Teller were like, you know what's really boring and no one would ever want to do or play? 8 hours of bus.
But we can simulate it with extraordinary fidelity.
So the thing I really like is the air freshener.
Yeah, I mean, it spins, and like in 3D, it really feels like it is being rendered from a different game.
I do actually like that they, at least for like the road, they seem to have actually sort of modeled it in 3D instead of just like a two-dimension.
Oh, yeah, that it actually feels like we're moving along a flat plane rather than having some kind of like pixel shenanigans.
Yeah, you ever have like those old like toys for kids that would just be like a road that would loop on a track?
Yeah, like on a roller.
On a roller, and then you have like your little lit up car, and there'd be like obstacles. It feels very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, but it has a certain meditative quality to it. I mean, it's not engaging by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it has potential as a substrate for other things.
Gives you a lot of time to think, like a lot of time to really, really think.
And which isn't necessarily a good thing for some of us. But I do enjoy how there's no one on the bus, and it goes to kind of like not ridiculous ends to show you, but it makes a point of the fact that there's no one on the bus. That this is a completely stimulus-free thing, and kind of like an existential experience as the bus driver. That you are doing this presumably for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Other than that there's a schedule to keep.
Like, even though you're rewarded with a point at the end of each leg of the journey, it's not a very great reward. Like,
no,
it's not a good incentive to keep going.
Well, it's completely arbitrary, like any point in video games, right? A point is, what is it, an extrinsic award?
Yes.
Something that has no valence within the game universe.
Yeah, you're like explicitly told by the game that you have been given a point.
That this is a reward. You should be happy for having obtained an award. And you're like, oh, cool.
I'll just keep doing this for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an interesting thought, if I can jump in for a second.
Oh,
yes,
please, Max.
Hi,
Max is a game dev.
I make video games. So it just occurred to me, there's actually a fair bit going on in this game, if you look at all of the individual little pieces, but it's all really spread out. So, like, if you, like, between the night mechanics, the getting the points, the odometer, the list to the left, which is not like a linear thing, the bus stops, the stuff that shows up in the background, there's a fair number of small but interesting moving pieces, like the bug splat, all stuff like that. But it's all really spread out. It's never engaged all at once. It's a very
That's probably why their QA didn't catch the bugs.
yeah. It's definitely very difficult to test for sure. But you think of Desert Bus as a simple game, but if you were to say write out a full design document for this thing, it would be several pages long.
Right, yeah, because, yeah, as you say, all the gauges work, the clock works, you can open and close the door, things happen at specific intervals.
Yep.
And yeah, you pointed out that the list to the right is not linear.
Yeah.
Right.
Your travel across the road is different depending on different sides.
Yeah, because when you're way over here, it's very slow and then snaps over.
Yep. Being able to crash on the right and left side probably, I haven't had a ton of experience with it, but probably works slightly differently from each other. You've got the whole backing up, being towed mechanic.
Right, which we've never
Yeah.
explored.
Yeah.
Really, well, I think there's a bit of maybe like miscommunication in the game about what causes the fail state, because it's actually like your engine overheating,
Right.
right? Like you run off the road and it makes your engine work harder, and then your bus fails.
Yeah. It's an interesting example of mechanics sort of interacting with each other, in that you've got the side of the road mechanic, but you've only got one fail state, which is the engine thing. But the way you interact with the different bits of the environment can let you hit that fail state in a couple of different ways.
Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting. I'd never really thought of it that way, because I'd always interpreted it as, the bus drives over into the ditch and then, you crash, but you don't actually do that.
Oh, because it's a flat expanse. Yeah.
And I think I would have wouldn't have known that unless Ben specifically mentions it several times in the interviews he's done with us.
Well, there you go then. Also, the odometer counts up to 800 miles, right? Is that true? Or is that just something I made up in my brain?
I don't know.
I don't actually know where the point is on the thing, because you go 45, right?
Yeah, you're going at 45, and the speedometer actually will track.
Yeah.
Not with
Yeah.
great fidelity, but, it pays attention.
The fact that it's not exact fidelity is also, that means somebody put some effort in obscuring disconnecting those two things a little bit.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, so what?
Yeah, so what, right? Like, the game is supposed to be a satire of a moral panic, or a parody of the kind of base assumption of the moral panic around video games in the mid-90s.
Which I feel is still relevant today, because we continue to have that conversation about violence in video games influencing people in their lives, and yeah.
I feel as a satire it works pretty well because it does work on all of the axes that the games were criticized along. And that you're given an extrinsic award to do something that you wouldn't otherwise do.
Right.
And they've just sort of changed the middle bit between it. Like you get points in this, you get points in Call of Duty, and they've just swapped out the middle bit where changing the guns for the bus, but kept the rest of the structure the same.
Right.
Which
Okay.
lets it operate as a satire of the format.
Of the first person genre.
Yes. Or of just game loops and operant conditioning in general.
I think you're rubbing your mic slightly. I don't know where your mic is actually now that I look.
It's inside.
The French.
Does this work as satire if you didn't know that it was satire?
No. I think you have to understand that something is satire.
At least, like, if you got to the end of your first point, you got your point, and then there was like a screen explaining to you, in 19 whatever, Janet Reno said this, 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 and this, and this. And it's like you worked 8 hours to then be told explicitly, you just did this thing, wasn't it awful? But this is what they want video games to turn into. But that's very heavy-handed, right?
I think in the context of Smoke and Mirrors, it's kind of understandable, because the other games are also borked.
They're meant to mess with you.
Yeah, they're meant to mess with you or give you opportunities to mess with your friends.
Like, there is the video that we always skip right through. I don't think I've ever seen it or heard it.
It's loud.
Is it?
Oh.
Okay. But yeah, no, actually, the thing that I just said there that I just kind of threw
Oh,
out,
right. Satire has to be known.
yeah, is something that I need to examine in a lot more detail and think about a lot.
Yeah.
Because,
So what's a notable work of non-video game satire?
Oh.
We can use it as an example.
I mean, I think the one that we always, or that the one that always gets trucked out immediately is A Modest Proposal.
Yes.
Yeah. Does a modest proposal come off as satire if you don't know the context?
A lot of people completely misinterpreted it,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think it's probably nearly impossible to have someone cold read A Modest Proposal.
So satire is something that works within a broader context, and doesn't necessarily work without that.
Yeah, like it's necessarily a commentary. So unless you understand what it's commenting on, you're only getting like the surface level thing.
But it's not the type of satire that's like a direct parody of a style. Like it's not Call of Duty, but with farts or something.
Right, like it would be like, oh, this is so dated, but something like Hot Shots.
Yeah.
Right, the movie
Yeah.
Hot Shots.
Right.
Does Hot Shots make any sense if you aren't familiar with the 80s, 90s American jingoistic action film? Right?
No.
Or are you just like,
You won't know why
is-
any of the Sheens matter.
Yeah.
I would say this isn't so much a parody of first-person shooters as it is of extrinsic rewards and operant conditioning.
Yeah, like, people take the Onion seriously all the time. Right? Or misread the Onion as being literally true.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's gotten more common, or at least, you know, the thing where something happens in real life and people have to be told, no, this is real, this was not a clickhole article.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot more to examine here.
I would like to draw the winners of our giveaways.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else you guys need to say, please.
Oh, sorry. Talking Sim's a 3-hour stream.
Okay, well.
It's like any other stream. You have to boot them off so you can do the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Let's-
I guess we'll wrap it up there then.
Yeah.
Straight through to
Thank you very much, though, and I will mark that as complete.